Good afternoon, and welcome to our dialogue with Mayor Edwin Olivarez on the challenges of local governance, especially on this time of COVID-19 pandemic. It is actually the second of our local governance series organized by the Good Governance Committee of FINEX in partnership with P&A Grant Thornton. I'd like to make particular mention of the involvement of Rod Franco, the chairman, and Bing Matoto, the liaison director of the FINEX Good Governance Committee, and Marivic Españo, chair and CEO of P&A Grant Thornton. Before we start our dialogue, I'd like to invite you to join me in a brief prayer. Almighty Father, we pray for the dispossessed and abandoned, the hungry and homeless, the sick and dying, the bereaved and depressed, the powerless and lost, the aged and vulnerable. O God of all creation, O God of compassion and mercy, give us strength of heart, mind, and body. Give us hope. Give us refuge and consolation. Trusting in your boundless power, your everlasting love, and your infinite mercy, we are certain that this too shall pass. Amen. I invite you now to put your right hand over your heart and join in the singing of the national anthem. Proceed with the dialogue, let me just do a bit of housekeeping. We have about an hour and a half of the dialogue, highlighted, of course, by the presentation of our guest speaker and the open forum that will ensue right after. For the sake of good order, we have muted the audio of the attendees, so we encourage you to raise your questions by clicking on the chat or Q&A tabs at the bottom of your screen. Now, with that out of the way, let me now call on Marivic Españo, former FINEX president and current chairman or chair of the FINEX Academy, to deliver the opening remarks. Marivic?
Thank you, Malu. Good afternoon, everyone. It is with great pleasure that I welcome all of you to the second session of our local governance series, a joint event hosted by FINEX Institute and P&A Foundation, as mentioned by Malu. Since November 2019, we've been hosting the local governance series to meet, hear from, and discuss with the best and the brightest local executives their initiatives to unlock their community's potential for growth. This particular session is a bit different given the current situation that we are in. But we know that in any crisis, there is an opportunity for leaders to shine. So for this particular webinar, we will focus on how the leaders of Paranaque City, headed by Mayor Edwin Olivarez, are facing the challenges of local governance during COVID-19 pandemic. I am sure that over the past 3 months, you have all been closely following the directives not only of Malacanang or the Department of Health, but also your city government and barangay chairman. In times of crisis, such as the current COVID-19 outbreak, it is not only the national government that is under pressure. The spotlight has clearly turned to our local officials. Local authorities are in the forefront in the fight against the pandemic. They are providing emergency services and communicating with citizens on measures to contain the spread of the disease. They coordinate with other levels of governance and other partners in all sectors of society, and also support their counterparts in other jurisdictions, thereby helping to mitigate the impact of the epidemic. The crisis not only puts at risk human lives, but also the functioning of our societies and democracies. Thus, the role of local authorities is important in ensuring the respect for human rights, democracy, and the rule of law during the COVID-19 crisis. Friends in FINEX and other guests in this webinar, more than ever, local governments must evolve so that they can protect the interests of the community. How are local governments units supporting their city in such a way that they protect the community as well as align the strategies of their central government? Over the next 1.5 hours, we will hear from our guest speaker, who will share his city's effort to curb the outbreak and manage the crisis. Both FINEX and P&A Grant Thornton Foundation believe that with the right set of leaders, our country should be able to overcome the challenges that we are facing now. I look forward to a very productive discussion today, and I thank everyone for joining us this afternoon.
Thank you, Marie Vic. You're quite right that the light is really shining on the local government, and the fight against COVID-19 is really the local government officials primarily. Let me now call on our chairman for the FINEX Good Governance Committee, Rodrigo Franco, to formally introduce our guest speaker. Rod?
Thank you, Malu. And good afternoon to everyone, to my fellow FINEX members and to our guests. It is my honor to introduce our featured speaker for this afternoon. Our presenter is a successful businessman, a dedicated civic leader, an accomplished politician, and equally important, a champion athlete. He is currently the chief executive of the city of Paranaque. He won initially by a landslide in the 2013 elections. Before that, he was a representative of the 1st District of Paranaque City, and much earlier served as Vice Governor of the province of Laguna. Apart from being mayor of Paranaque City, he is concurrently the chairman of the Metro Manila Council. The council is the governing board and policy-making body of the Metro Manila Authority. So we can say he is the chairman of the board of MMDA. The mayor comes from a political clan, being the son of former Paranaque City Mayor Dr. Pablo Olivarez. The Olivarez name is a prominent fixture in the history of Paranaque City. Our local chief executive presenter is an alumnus of De La Salle University, where he earned a bachelor's degree in commerce. He also holds a master's degree in business administration from Olivarez College. His extensive business experience includes stints as president of the Olivarez Realty Corporation and EJO Multifood, Inc. He is also a director of Olivarez Sports Center and a member of the Board of Trustees of Olivarez College. A well-rounded person, our guest presenter is a former junior tennis champion and played for the Philippine national tennis team. He was previously also the president of the Philippine Tennis Association. An apt speaker for this forum, the mayor's vision and mission for Paranaque City prominently feature good governance. My fellow FINEX members and guests, let's all welcome Paranaque City Mayor Edwin Olivarez.
Mayor Olivarez, you have the floor.
For a very kind and generous introduction. Mr. Jose Jerome Pascual III, our President of Financial Executive Institute of the Philippines. Ms. Maria Victoria Españo, our Chairperson of FINEX Academy. Mr. Rodrigo E. Franco, Chairman of FINEX Good Governance Committee. The members of the FINEX Boards of Directors and Institute Committees, fellow government colleagues, partners in the private sector, and my dear fellow Paranaqueños, ladies and gentlemen, isang magandang tanghali po sa ating lahat. Una sa lahat, ako po yung nagpapasalamat sa imbitasyon na binigay niyo po sa akin, and it is a great opportunity to share what's happening in the city of Paranaque. As I was going through my presentation this morning, I am very excited and energetic to be part of this year's FINEX Local Government Series on the challenges of local government in the COVID-19 pandemic. The invitation is timely as we report to our stakeholders the reforms initiatives undertaken by the city government of Paranaque, and highlights our plans as we embrace a new normal in this time of pandemic. As you may know, the national government has placed the entire country under the Enhanced Community Quarantine, or ECQ, last March 16, 2020, in an effort to mitigate and address the increasing number of COVID-19 cases. In response, the city government, through the Paranaque COVID-19 Task Force and Response Team, immediately implemented various preventive and precautionary measures in each community, barangay, to ensure the safety of every Paranaqueños. This was followed by a 2-week modified enhanced community quarantine, or MECQ, as we transition ourselves to implement the GCQ, or the General Community Quarantine, which eases some of the restriction to allow business operation and movements in the city. Today, we are also pleased to report that Paranaque City has recorded a high rate of recoveries at 536, or 67% from the total of 802 confirmed cases as of yesterday of June 10, 2020. The city government, Paranaque, is fully aware of the current situation and its impact to the both national and local economy, and is bent to maximizing the opportunities for the recovery and resiliency through reform initiatives and development interventions. The city government has identified several complementary reform initiatives that will further help us implement the new normal under the GCQ, and in mind that we will ensure strict compliance to safety and health protocols from the national government. The city government is now using modern technologies in the deliveries of public service. The BPLO, the Business Permit and License Office, has launched its online government service, online appointment system, which intend to reduce physical interaction in some of the business-related transactions in the city. Our end goal is to fully automate or digitize our core processes. We're also exploring possible partnership with private sector and business organizations to strengthen our initiatives and extend its reach to the informal and vulnerable sector. The priority shall be given to micro, small, medium enterprises and the formal vulnerable sector. We must help each MSMEs to gear up toward the digital economy, as they are the backbone of the economy and prime mover of domestic and regional growth. As of the latest count, we have a total of 19,144 SMMEs registered in our city. We recognize the need to capacitate our SMMEs to shift in the digital economy. Many are still in the basic level of digitization, and we are committed to address the barriers and create programs that will enable them to recover in this pandemic. Access to finance market is one of the areas where the city government and FINEX can collaborate. We are drafting our proposal for the SMMEs Economic and Livelihood Opportunities Program, which intend to provide both financial and technical support in helping our SMEs and local businesses. We're looking forward to your recommendation on this initiative. There's a need to upskill and reskill the workforce. Many businesses are now engaging themselves to use modern technologies, solutions to develop or enhance their existing process. The city government will closely working with our partners in the government and private sector to carefully evaluate the needs for appropriate training programs for the business sector, especially our micro, small, medium enterprise. The city government has found the whole of government approach effective. By this, the city government shall navigate the entire bureaucracy to ensure the impediments to business recovery are removed, and that stakeholders are assured ease in doing business and safety in this global pandemic. As I mentioned, the city government approach is to immediately respond to the new normal and adapt recovery and resiliency measures in coordination with the national government and the interagency task force on the emerging infectious diseases. We need to strengthen the interlocal government coordination from barangay to the city level to monitor and assess our performance indicator, such as reduction in the number of COVID-19 cases, increase higher recovery rate, and the normalization of the local economy. We will strictly enforce or implement our preventive and precautionary measures, and we are looking at active participation of the private sector on this initiative. Today's presentation is an opportunity to highlight our reform initiatives and share some of the best practices that we implemented. We're optimistic with this platform with FINEX will enable us to come up with actionable recommendations, solutions to address the sectoral issues and concerns. Looking forward, the city government is committed to build business and consumer confidence and ensure the public health standards will be our top priority. Maraming salamat po at mabuhay po tayong lahat. Ngayon po ay itutuloy po natin yung ating pong presentation at meron po tayong slide presentation will be shown dito po sa ating pong Zoom conference. Slide please. Okay. So this would be the challenges of the local government in the COVID-19 pandemic. Next slide. Our strategic objectives. First is to deepen the public-private partnership for providing the platforms for the general public and stakeholders. This will be a very good venue for the City of Government of Paranaque and FINEX to have a collaboration in fighting this COVID and for the recovery of our economy. Second is to understand the crisis management, leadership, and organizational capacity of the city government. And third is to implement the evidence-informed decision and action during the GCQ. Next slide, please. Our current situation. To the report of the DOH, as of June 10, we have 23,732 total number of cases. Our cases reported yesterday, is 740, and the recoveries nationwide is 4,895, and the deaths is 1,027 as of yesterday. In comparison, in the city of Paranaque, we have 802 total cases since February of this year. Now we have only about active cases, with this 216. We have a mortality or deaths of 50, about 6% of our total cases. And we have a recoveries of about 536, which is more than 65% of our total cases for the past 4 months. This is the detail of the new cases and the active cases in the whole city of Paranaque. And I would like to share with you that the city of Paranaque is composed of 16 barangay. Hindi po ito katulad ng mga barangay sa Manila, sa Pasay, na in a particular road is composed of one barangay. Isang zone, isang barangay. In the city of Paranaque, we are composed of subdivision, villages, and developing areas, what we call it mission areas. And one particular barangay here, specifically Barangay Biep, have more than 100,000 in population. At dito po makikita po niyo sa slide po ito, yung pong ating mga active cases at yung pong mga total confirmed on the 16 barangay. And I would like to share with you, for the past 2 weeks, yung pong 14 na barangay po namin ay halos wala na pong new cases. At yun na lang pong mga critical zone o critical barangay po namin, yung Barangay Baclaran at Barangay San Dionisio. At nag-implement po kami ng lockdown po dito for the past 2 weeks at yung San Dionisio last week para ma-implement po namin expanded testing po natin at ma-isolate po natin yung po mga probable and suspect on that particular barangay. Next slide, please. This is the infographic at makikita po natin na doon po sa ating pong confirmed COVID-19 with the blue graph ay halos na po magko-connect yung pong ating recovery at yung pong active cases, which is about 200 plus, ay pababa na po siya na makikita po natin, pati yung ating death graph po natin ay nagplato na halos wala na po tayong mortality in the city of Paranaque. These emerging issues and challenges. Increasing number of COVID-19 cases as a result of ongoing case validation, consider high cost and availability of testing kits and other medical equipments. Availability of financial and technical assistance programs, especially for the informal, vulnerable sector, the SMMEs, transport sector, and others. Addressing number of displaced workers due to the temporary business closure. The absence of the transport, not clear if they will be allowed to operate in full capacity after the GCQ is downgraded. What has been done in the city of Paranaque? First, we created our COVID-19 task force. At makikita po natin dito sa slide na ito yung ating pong organization. Ang ating pong chairman, yours truly. At meron po tayong 3 co-chairman po dito. At under this is our Liga of Barangay, our DILG, the Bureau of Fire Protection, and the PNP. This is in collaboration of the local government unit and all national government agencies. The Paranaque City COVID-19 Response Team. On our organization, we do create cluster to attend with the specific needs of our constituent in fighting this pandemic. The first cluster is the Case Management Response Cluster, which be directed for the detection, surveillance, validation, classification of COVID cases all over the city. Another cluster is the Public Safety, Law and Order cluster, which attend on the maintenance and peace and order. Another cluster is the Sanitation cluster that will attend the sanitation and disinfection, the contamination of public spaces and facilities for our prevention for this spread of this COVID-19. The next cluster is the medical facilities cluster that accommodate COVID-19 cases in the hospital and other related responsibilities. Gusto ko pong ipaalam po sa inyo na the city of Paranaque have 2 hospitals to cater our COVID cases in the city of Paranaque. Namely, the Hospital ng Paranaque 1 and our newly created hospital, the Hospital Paranaque 2, which is located along Doña Soledad Fast Track, Barangay Don Bosco, that would serve the 2nd Congressional District. At yung lahat po ng ating po mga probable, suspect, mild, and symptomatic na mga cases, doon po natin nilalagay specifically doon po sa OSPAR 2 that we separated it. Doon po sa ating pong mga cases, yung mga normal cases na natanggap ng Hospital ng Paranaque 1. The screening cluster. This is the early detection and continuous monitoring of the PUIs. The remains and remains cluster, the proper disposal of deceased person due to COVID-19. The economic preservation and recovery clusters will be attending the issues of business, community, monitoring, logistics supply chains, guaranteeing the lifeline support, and ensuring food security. The next cluster is the control and communication and coordination for the continuous operation of emergency telecommunication. And the next cluster is the logistic cluster, which provide resources, equipment for frontliners and vehicles for transport and goods and passengers. What has been done by the City Government of Paranaque? The City Government of Paranaque has issued the following preventive and precaution measures relative to the spread of COVID-19 as shows on this slide. We have 20 executive orders covering the COVID-19 task force, the response team, the home quarantine guidelines, the contact tracing teams, the liquor ban, which ran until May 31. Last June 1, when we were converted for GCQ, we leave the liquor ban, provided there is no drinking on public places. The next, we have also enacted 15 resolution, temporary closures of non-essential businesses establishment, the granting tax relief to business tax real property tax, and others. We'll also have 11 ordinance that was enacted by the City Council. The curfew hours from 8 o'clock in the evening until 5 o'clock in the morning. And it's still running until now. The curfew hours being implemented by our barangay and our counterpart from the Philippine National Police. The installation of hand soaps and sanitizers in the public places, prohibiting the profiteering and price cap, our continuous monitoring of anti-hoarding and the prices all over the establishment all over the city of Paranaque. We have also created 9 public memoranda regarding the guidelines and safety precautionary measures against COVID-19, the issuance of the quarantine pass, and others. Our city, for the past months, have built 7 isolation facilities, namely the San Antonio National High School, the Paranaque City College, the Paranaque National High School, the OSPOR 1 and OSPOR 2, the Baclaran Elementary School, and the Doctora Arcadio High School. This is the main key of our City Health Office to isolate all positive and suspect and get them away from the community and put them on the isolation facilities. We also created 4 testing centers in our city, in OSPOR 1 and OSPOR 2, 1 in Paranaque National High School, and our CESU, the City Epidemiology and Surveillance Unit, go down to the barangay for our extended mass testing for each resident of the city of Paranaque. The pandemic affected a lot of workers. Ang ating pong syudad ay patuloy na nagbibigay ng ayuda at tulong sa lahat po ng ating household in the city of Paranaque. In fact, nasa 4 na wave na po tayo ng pagbibigay po ng family food pack. As of today, we have about 800,000 family food pack have been distributed all over the 16 barangay in the city of Paranaque. Yung pong ayuda na ibinigay ng ating pong national government, this is the 77,674. And I would gladly to share to you the first beneficiary all over the Republic of the Philippines was assisted and given in the city of Paranaque with Secretary Galvez, and we did it in Barangay Vitales. At gusto ko paalam po sa ating pong mga boards ng FINEX, doon po sa deadline na binigay ng DILG to distribute these 77,674 beneficiary allocated for the city of Paranaque, na comply po ito ng ating lungsod ng Paranaque. The implementation of the Paranaque's COVID-19 assistance for the left out. I would like to share for the board of the officers of FINEX na yung pong ating pong ayuda, yung SAP, yung Social Amelioration Program na ibinigay ng national government for each local government unit affected by this pandemic under quarantine is not sufficient with all the household of the particular local government unit. Just for example, the city of Paranaque. In the city of Paranaque, you have about 160,000 households, at yung pong allocated na beneficiary for SAP is only 77,674. Yung din pong nabigyan ng tupad, nabigyan ng DOLE, nabigyan ng ating pong SSS, will not suffice the 160,000 households. So ang ginawa po ng ating lungsod ng Paranaque, we allocated worth 200 million pesos para po sa lahat po ng ating left out, para sa programa na wala pong maiwanan, na hindi po mabibigyan ng ayuda, either poor, poorest of the poor, or either middle class at lahat po ng mga affected na mga residente in the city of Paranaque. At binigyan po sila at binibigyan ng 5,000 bawat household in the city of Paranaque. Moving forward for a new normal. This is our strategic initiatives. First is the policy reforms and coordination with the national and local government level. The public-private sector, partnership on capacity building programs for local businesses, SMEs, logistic and supply chain. The information, education, and communication, or the IEC, on workplace and health protocols. The automation and online government services. First is the policy reforms and coordination. Partnership with the NGAs, with the different national government agencies like DTI, DOF, DSWD, DOLE, and DILG in providing the financial and technical assistance for the general public and local businesses. To facilitate the SMEs application to DTI Small Businesses Corporation, yung pondo sa pagbabago sa pag-asenso. Issuance of the regulation ordinances to reduce costs of doing business, reduction of the regulatory fees related to business permit, such as garbage fees, granting tax reliefs, amnesty for business and real property taxes. Capacity building programs, training for SMEs and startup businesses, access to finance for economic and livelihood opportunities program, access to market, online modules on pandemic preparedness, regarding skilling, setting up online business. Improve the logistics supply chains. Paranaque City as logistic hub industry in the country, because our city of Paranaque is the host of the Terminal 1 airport. Support to the proposal on the reduction of the high logistic and domestic shipping costs. Ensure the compliance to workplace and minimum public health standards, just like the social distancing, wearing of face mask, checking of body temperature, rapid testing is being done on all establishments and all local and national offices all over the city of Paranaque. The implementation of COVID-19 communication plan in private sector, dialogue, forums, webinar session. Katulad po itong FINEX, we just finished our conference with the chamber, the Paranaque Chamber of Commerce and Corporate Paranaque chapter, to newsletter, email and website, social media accounts, Facebook and Twitters. We're also automating and online government services. Implementation of the online appointment system and online business application. Use of electronic payment facilities in business registrations. Use of courier services to deliver business-related documents such as permits and license certificate, etc. Ibig sabihin po niyan, hindi na po pupunta yung ating po mga nag-a-apply, nag-renew. Padadala na lang po natin yung mayor's permit nila to courier. Adoption of e-payment, EMB card for distribution of cash assistance to your citizen, ating pong SAP beneficiary, na bibigyan po ng ating city ang lahat po ng ating pong presidente, that what we call health card, para hindi na po katulad ng first stance po natin pagbigay ng ayuda face to face, house to house, through e-payment na lang to EMB card. Setting up a telemedicine kiosk application for senior citizens. And this is our website. So, our key takeaway. The role of the city government is critical and significant as there is need to balance health challenges and socio-economic impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. We should learn from each other's experience. Sharing of information and best practices can help us to span and recover as one nation. At ito po yung tinatakil po namin sa Metro Manila Council meeting wherein we share our good practices within Metro Manila with the different mayors. Top priority is to strengthen and build business and consumers' confidence. We need to come up with the strategic sectoral plan with our partners in government and private sector. And dito po natatapos yung ating presentation, and I would like to thank again for inviting me for this Zoom conference.
Thank you very much, Mayor Edwin, for that very comprehensive presentation. And thank you for agreeing to stay on for our open forum. Before today, I checked the website, Mayor, the Paranaque City website. And there was an interesting description of you. And may I quote, you were described as a whiff of fresh air, a rare breed of public servant that embodies the rise of new politics in Paranaque. Can you please explain, Mayor, what you mean by new politics and how do you embody new politics?
Yes, before I joined public service, I used to be a businessman before. Prior my service in the province of Laguna, way back 1998, I served as provincial board member and eventually vice governor of the province of Laguna. Meron po akong mga establishment doon po sa province of Laguna. Yung pong mga subdivision, housing, what we call yung Olivarez homes. Yung pong first mall or commercial center in the province of Laguna, yung Olivarez Plaza, was created in Binyan way back 1990s. Wala pa sila SM doon, wala pa sila Robinson. And yung pong second mall na ginawa po namin, yung pong Olivarez Plaza Los Baños, until now, doon po sa malapit sa UP, until now ay nagpa-function pa siya. So yung ating pong experience as businessman, ay na-implement ko po yan doon po sa ating pong public service, wherein alam ko po yung pong kalagayan ng mga negosyante kung paano magkakaroon po ng private and public partnership for the betterment for building our nation. At ako po yung napakapalad nung bumalik po ako where I was born in the city of Paranaque, way back 2010, nag-serve po ako as a congressman of the 1st Congressional District. And now, I'm serving my third term as the Chief Executive Officer of the City of Paranaque. Yung pong aking experience as a businessman ay na-share ko po sa aking pong, as a public service para po magkaroon po ng maayos sa partnership ng private and public sector.
Mayor, what I'm picking up from you is that you've created a more business-friendly environment. In more concrete terms, what sort of initiatives have you adopted in your 3 terms as mayor that the business community welcomed as a boon to businesses in the city in Paranaque City?
Yes. When we assumed office way back 2013, with the help of our business processing and license office headed by Attorney Lani Malaya, sinorten po namin yung proseso ng pag-apply ng business po dito. Okay. Dati po, ang pag-apply ng business po dito, way back 8 years ago, umaabot ng more than 10 to 15 steps bago makuha ang permit. Ngayon, basically, 3 to 4 steps, meron na po tayong permit na makukuha.
Ilang araw ho yun, Mayor, bago matapos yung 3 or 4 steps?
In 1 day, tapos po siya. Okay. Pina-implement po natin dito sa atin yung business one-stop siya. Wherein, andun sa specific ng opisina ng BPLO, andun na po yung mga iba natin, mga offices, para may process immediately itong ating pong mga negosyo na nag-a-apply at nag-renew ng ating negosyo all over the city of Paranaque.
Mayor, you mentioned earlier.
Ang ginawa po natin, ang ginawa po nating alternative, yung innovation, hindi na po kukuha yung mga negosyo na nag-a-apply, nag-renew ng barangay permit doon sa barangay hall.
Okay, that's good to hear.
Dito na rin po mismo sa siyudad ng Paranaque, kinukuha yung kanilang barangay clearance para hindi na po mahirapan yung ating pong mga applicants.
Okay, okay. Mayor, hindi pa kayo, you mentioned earlier that one of your initiatives is to bring everything online. So you're not quite contactless yet. It's still a work in progress.
Yes, it is. Nag-uumpisa na po tayo po doon po sa ating online, para po sa ating pong online application and our online payment. Yes.
They're in place
Hopefully,
already.
hopefully God's willing, within a month, ma-implement po natin.
Okay. So there is a specific timetable for when the residents of Paranaque can expect to already do all their applications from home, which is in a month's time. Okay, that's good to hear. Mayor, you entered your third term last year. Entering into that third term, what were your priority projects, and how has the COVID pandemic affected your ability to realize these programs?
Yes. Before this pandemic, yung pong ating budget ginawa po is way back 2019 for the year 2020.
Yeah.
So ang main objective ng programs ng ating city ay naka-embody doon sa aming slogan. Yung pong aming bagong Paranaque. May ibig sabihin po yung bagong. Yung pong aming acronym. Yung B stand for business and academic, business and environment friendly. Yung A is for academic excellence. Yung pong mga school, building schools and colleges in the city of Paranaque. Yung G, yan po yung good governance and public order. Yung O, opportunity for livelihood, for children livelihood and housing. Yung N is nutrition and health and senior citizen welfare. At yung G, ang ibig sabihin po ng acronym na yon ay God-centered governance. So doon po naka-embodied yung program po namin. Ang nangyari lang po dyan, ito pong budget ng 2020 na yung mga budget namin na infrastructure, we realign it para po sa ating pandemic.
How much of your budget has been focused on the COVID
As of today, ang nagastos na po ng city doon sa ating pong disaster fund, doon sa ating quick response fund, nasa 570 million na.
Okay.
Tapos meron pa tayong additional na 200 million na yung pong proposed na Astrodome na gagawin ng City of Paranaque this year. Along Coastal Road, kinancel muna natin po yon. Nilagay po natin sa Paranaque Cash yung pong ating binibigay sa 40,000 beneficiary, 5,000 each, na lahat hindi po nabigyan ng SAP.
So there was a realignment, Mayor, of the budget, and the funding that went to COVID were pulled away from yung Astrodome ba yun, Mayor? Yung Astrodome.
Yes.
Are there other services intended to be delivered by the local government that would have to be pushed back because of the need to fund the fight against COVID?
Pinalist priority po namin yung katulad ng Astrodome na pwede naman natin pagliban po yun.
Aside from that, Mayor, meron pa
ng budget ng city ng 2020, yung pong ating pong completion ng Paranaque City College, itinuloy po natin ng this year.
Mga infra.
Kasi first time, infra.
Okay.
Yung pong completion ng Hospital ng Paranaque 2, tinuloy rin po natin po yun. Itinuloy po natin. So inalis po natin yung mga list priority that we could implement it for next year to cope up with our pandemic issues right now.
Yes. Mayor, you mentioned earlier certain performance metrics, no, that you pursued to successfully handle the COVID-19 crisis. On a scale of 1 to 5, how would you rate your performance? And where were the gaps and lapses, and how are you proposing to address them?
Yes. I cannot say it's 5 kasi meron pa kaming active cases.
Oo.
Pero siguro,
kailangan 0 para maging perfect yung score, Mayor.
Oo. Kasi in my presentation, makikita po natin, yung aming recovery is about 65%. Doon po sa data ng national sa DOH, I think, correct me if I'm right, I'm wrong, it's less than 40%. Yes, it's less than. But ang recovery ng City of Paranaque is about 65%. So ibig sabihin, yung protocol ng ating ng DOH will be implementing the City of Paranaque. Ano po yung protocol ng ating ng DOH being implemented sa City of Paranaque? Una, yung tinatawag nating prevention. Yung ating social distancing, yung ating pagsusot ng face mask. Second, yung extended testing and contact tracing. For the information of FINEX, more than 20,000 na pong individual ang na-test ng City of Paranaque.
Ano yung target nyo, Mayor? What's your target?
Actually, tinanong ko sa DOH yan eh. Ang sabi nila, there is no target.
So how will we know that the 20,000 is enough or a good number?
Through contact tracing. So through contact tracing, specify natin kung sino itetest natin.
Okay.
Hindi po pwede na kahit sino
hindi random.
Yes, hindi po pwede by random. Through contact tracing, kailangan yung po itetest po natin. Immediately yung po mga COVID patient, kung sino yung mga pamilya nila, sino po yung neighbors po nila, yung po i-contact trace po natin para doon sa third protocol, ma-isolate po natin sila. Na ginagawa po ng ating syudad. Sa presentation po natin, ang dami pong facility, isolation facility itinayo ng ating city para ma-isolate po natin. Tapos yung pang-apat na kailangan na gawin po ng ating pusit ng city, ito pong ating protocol ng ating health, yung treatment. Iniwalay po natin yung mga COVID positive doon po sa OSPAG ng Paranaque 2. Yung ating newly created hospital na hindi natin sinama siya doon sa ating existing hospital ng Paranaque 1 para siya mag-attend naman doon sa mga normal cases. It's a newly built hospital along Doña Soledad. Hindi masasabi na on time yun sa pandemic, pero nagamit po natin po siya para i-separate po natin yung ating mga COVID positive. And
Mayor, yung COVID positive through swab testing, hindi rapid testing.
Yes, we do by swab test.
Okay.
Tapos yung panlimang protocol na in-implement ng ating city, kapag natapos yung treatment and recovery, integration to the community. Yung integration.
Okay, that's good. Mayor, let me go back to, you mentioned yung social amelioration program, no, yung SAP. And there must have been a lot of governance challenges with the transmission of this SAP, no, because we read about a lot of horror stories of non-delivery or yung may mga discounts before the amounts are released. What were your monitoring mechanisms or control points that you adopted to make sure that the delivery is prompt and transparent?
Actually, maraming problema ang hinarap ng mga LGUs all over the countries tungkol sa SAP.
Yes.
Binanggit ko kanina yan doon sa presentation natin. Yung pong allocated na beneficiary for each local government is not sufficient. Doon po sa actual beneficiary, doon po sa ating mga
Mayor, let me just go back to that before we talk about the supplemental support that you provided. Yun ho mismong SAP, absent the national ID system, how does one have the comfort that the funds really went to the right parties, and that they were delivered, as I said, promptly and fully?
Tama. Sa Paranaque, ang ginawa po namin po dyan, nakahiwalay na po yung ating SAP para sa 4Ps eh. Yung 4Ps natin, talaga po sila,
may listahan na kayo doon, Mayor.
Po yun, may case study po lahat po yun. So, po yun, na-provide po natin po yun.
Yes.
Yung pong ating pong pagpili, based on the guidelines of the DSWD, ang nagpa-implement po niyan ang ating barangay. Ang barangay po natin, based on the guidelines ng DSWD. Pero meron po tayong city counterpart, particularly yung aming pong mga empleyado ng Barangay Operation Office, nakaroon po ng partnership sa mga barangay to make it a point na may check and balance para sa pagpili ng beneficiary based on the guidelines of DSWD.
So police, Mayor, you're able to police the barangay officials who are the last mile. Kasi sila yung they're the ones in contact with the beneficiaries. So there's proper policing.
Yes, yung pong
Is it
aming
correct to say, Mayor, na hindi kayo kasama dun sa listahan ng mga napipinalize ng national government, the LGUs that have been cited for not fully delivering? Wala kayo dun sa listahan na yun ng national
wala kami pinadalang cause of action na barangay. Yung 16 barangay po namin, lahat nagpa-implement ng maayos.
Okay,
At
that's good
yung
to
po
hear.
aming liquidation, halos tapos na kami sa liquidation namin, yung first tranche.
Okay. Before I read, medyo humahaba na, Mayor, yung Q&A, yung list of questions that the attendees have put in. But before I get into that, ang dami kasing protocols, Mayor, that you have to impose among your constituency to make sure that there is no transmission of the virus across communities. And trust is a critical element. Trust yung
Trust.
the trust that it cuts both ways, no? Your constituents must trust in you, and you have to trust them in turn. How did you manage to? I'm assuming that I'm not going to ask you whether you've earned their trust, because that's self-serving. I will assume that you've earned their trust. And so how did you manage to earn the trust of your constituents? And how do you maintain that trust so that even as we transition from ECQ to MECQ to GCQ, we're starting to loosen and liberalize. You don't want a second wave, right?
Of
and
course,
you want, So
Not
how,
like that.
let's go back to trust. How have you earned it? And how do you make sure that you retain the trust?
They should feel that the government is with them. Kailangan maramdaman ng constituent yung present ng ating gobyerno, lalong-lalo na itong pandemic crisis na ito. At yung po ang ginagawa ng ating syudad.
Paano mo nila kayo naramdaman? How do I may use the present tense? How do your constituents feel your presence?
First, we address the problem of COVID. Yung pong ating mga isolation facilities, yung ating mga medical attention na binibigay sa kanila, yung pangangalaga ng aming mga frontliners, importante po yan, yung ating mga frontliners. Yung pagbibigay po ng ating pong mga ayuda, na katulad binanggit ko sa kanila, almost 1 million food package stock na binigay po ng ating city.
What is the population of the city?
About the latest census, about 700,000.
How many households?
160,000 households.
160,000 households.
Yes. Hindi lang po yung family food bank ang binigay ng ating syudad. Ang city po natin nagbigay rin ng mga food vouchers sa lahat ng senior citizen. All over 80,000 na food vouchers binigyan po yun. Binigyan po natin isa sa, and we deliver it house to house. Hindi mo natin pinapunta sila. House to house binigay po yung food vouchers nila.
Wala naman ho nagkasakit dun sa mga frontliners na nag-deliver ng house to house. Mayor. Wala naman ho.
May frontliner na nagkasakit. Pero we manage it. We manage it. Hindi lang po yung senior citizen, binigyan rin po ng food vouchers ng city natin. Naka-two-wave yung lahat ng mga vulnerable sector affected, yung mga TODA, yung mga PODA.
Yes.
PWD, binigyan rin po natin ng city po yan, pati ng ating transport group. So lahat ng sector in the city of Paranaque, basta kaya ng ating syudad, tutugunan po ng atin. Para maramdaman nila yung presence ng gobyerno dito
Do
sa
they
crisis.
see you? Your constituents see you, Mayor?
Yes.
Are you visible?
I personally supervise everything.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, that's good to hear. Let me go over some of the questions, Mayor. This is major political question, Mayor, because the sender is focusing on the controversy surrounding Secretary Duque, and he wants to know whether you believe that the call for his resignation by some of the legislators is justified, and whether the other mayors of Metro Manila, because you chair the council, share your views. Would you want to comment on this? Or
As far as the city is concerned, DOH is assisting the city of Paranaque.
okay.
Sinusuportahan po tayo ng DOH. As a city of Paranaque is concerned.
Okay, good. There's another, I need to go over these questions, Mayor, kasi medyo mahaba na. This is about BF Homes, and it talks about BF Homes Paranaque. And it says here that it's asking whether the BF Federation of Homeowners Association should have asked clearance or permission from your city government before allowing testing of COVID-19 in the area, particularly in the children's park. Should there have been a prior announcement that should have been made? And then may talked about some POGO employees and they were using that area, etc. So ano yung ano nyo dito, Mayor? What's your comment?
Yes, that issue was raised about 2 weeks ago, 2 to 3 weeks ago. Nung po nagkaroon po ng mass testing yan, yung pong lab na kinuha nila, yung laboratory na kinuha ng POGO, at gusto ko po malaman po ng ating mga officers ng FINEX, yung pong POGO doon sa BF, wala po tayong POGO facility po doon sa Paranaque. Kasi ang BF is composed of 3 cities.
Yes.
Kung BF subdivision.
Piñas, Muntinlupa, Paranaque.
And Muntinlupa.
Yes.
Yung specific na POGO facility is not in Paranaque. Yung pong naglagay ng mass testing, ginamit lang po yung venue, yung open space ng BF Homes.
Do you have control over the homeowners association that allowed the use of that common area?
Immediately, nung pong nagkaroon po kami ng report, immediately on that day, pinatigil po namin po yun.
Okay.
Pinatigil po na immediately. Kasi hindi siya kumuha ng permit sa ating pong barangay, hindi kumuha ng permit sa ating pong city health office, at sa city po natin. So immediately, it's an illegal act at pinatigil po natin po yun. At ito po yung nasa legal office po namin po yun. At kung sino po yung dapat managot po doon, mananagot po siya doon po sa violation, doon po sa ating quarantine policies.
Mayor, while we're on the POGOs, no, there was a news article not too long ago that talked about a raid on an unlicensed clinic in Paranaque, and POGO workers who obviously were also undocumented that were being treated or were found in the area. What's the status of this one, Mayor?
Yes, it is a joint operation between the Paranaque, PNP, and NBI.
Okay.
Meron po tayong nahuli dito sa clinic sa Baclaran, Baclaran po sa atin. At kinumpiskate po natin lahat ng gamot po doon. At pinost po yan ng ating BPLO. Pinost po yan, walang permit na hindi po nag-ooperate po yun. Immediately we close it.
Eh yung mga Chinese that appear to be undocumented, were they turned over to the Bureau of Immigrations? Yes. Or okay.
Ganun po ginawa po natin. Lahat po ng ating pong nakuwang mga Chinese po doon ay in-endorse po natin sa BID.
Baka ma-recycle sila, Mayor. And okay, hindi naman walang recycling ng mga.
Sundan po natin po 'yon.
Okay. Let me ask another question. Another attendee is asking, the BIR is now targeting online sellers for registration and transaction of past sales. Does the city government have the same initiative?
Bago yung guidelines binigay ng BIR pati ako nagulat din doon
So, wala, pag-aaralan mo muna.
Pag-aaralan po ng ating
Let me read the other one. LGUs have different requirements, especially for citizens traveling to and from the provinces. Citizens find it very difficult to comply and secure the different requirements. Is there an initiative for uniform requirement? Ito yung intercity, or Metro Manila to the province. I guess as Metro Manila Council Chairman, are you working on unifying, making the requirements?
Yes.
Standardizing the requirements.
Maliwanag po yan yung protocol po dyan. Within Metro Manila, wala tayong problema po doon.
Wala na ho.
Within Metro Manila, we can pass on other cities.
Because of GCQ.
Pero ang problem po natin yung tinatawag na LSI. Ano po yan? Yung ating locally standard individual. May protocol na permit na kukunin po siya. Kung i-assist po siya.
Sino po yung LSI?
Ito po yung mga local standard individual na naipit ng quarantine sa Metro Manila at uuwi sila sa
Ah.
probinsya. They have to
Mhm.
travel permit. Travel permit.
Yes. Yes.
Yung proseso ng travel permit, i-assist po sila ng barangay kasi kukuha sila ng certificate health clearance doon po sa ating pong barangay health center. Pag nakakuha po sila ng barangay health center, doon po na-clearance sila, dadalhin po yan doon po sa ating PNP. Hindi po sa police headquarters, kundi sa PCP. Doon lang po sa presinto within the barangay para
Okay.
madali sila bigyan ng travel permit.
Gaano katagal mo processing yan, Mayor?
Within a day, dapat matapos sila doon. Kasi
Okay.
lahat doon lang within the barangay. They don't have to go to the city hall. They don't have to go to the city hall. Doon lang po sa barangay health center, bibigyan po sila ng ating ng health certificate, ng clearance. Tapos within the barangay, meron tayong PCP, yung ating tinatawag na Police Community Precinct. Hindi sila pupunta sa main headquarters. Bibigyan sila ng travel permit basta kumpleto sa health clearance. At yun ang po pakikita nila yung travel permit nila doon sa mga border na papunta sa
O
kanila.
paano ho yung basis for the release of the health clearance? Are they going to go through rapid testing?
Magkakaroon muna ng check-up yung doktor natin doon.
Ah.
Kapag hindi naman symptomatic, walang problema
Oo.
po.
And all expenses are paid for by the city. Walang
Yes.
gastos yung
Wala
tao.
pong gastos.
Okay.
Wala silang gastos po doon. Walang
Mayor,
gastos.
while we're on the Metro Manila Council, your responsibility as chair of the council, is the council assisting in addressing the pressing transportation problem within Metro Manila? Because there clearly is a crisis, no, Mayor? Is the council doing something about it?
Yes. Actually, under GCQ, yung pong ating mga buses hindi pa allowed. Yung jeepney, hindi pa siya allowed.
Di pa ko ba allowed yung buses, Mayor?
Yung point to point. Point to point. Point to point.
Oo.
Pero yung regular buses is not allowed. Pati mga provincial
Oo.
buses going to Metro Manila, it is not allowed. Hindi
Okay.
Ang allows lang ating GCQ po natin, yung ating pong mga taxis, yung ating TNBS, yung ating pong Transport Network Vehicular Services, ito yung mga UB Express, tapos yung pong ating tricycle, tsaka yung mga point-to-point natin na mga shuttle at point-to-point natin buses. So malaking problema po yan. Doon po sa guideline ng GCQ, yung po mga returning employees, dapat ang employer magbibigay ng shuttle. Supposedly,
yung employer, Mayor, is already hard.
yes. Kung hindi
cash-strapped as
ng
it
employer
is.
po yan, hindi kakayanin po ng employer.
Hindi kaya
Sa Paranaque po kami, since day one, nag-quarantine, may shuttle po tayo. Since day one, may shuttle po sa Paranaque. At ngayon po, ang ini-encourage po namin po ngayon, nasa drawing board na po kami, para magkaroon tayo ng bike lane along Sumatro and Ninoy Aquino Avenue.
Mayor, the shuttle, is it within Paranaque only? I mean, from home to work in Paranaque.
Yes.
So, kailangan lumipat ngayon ang mga businesses sa Paranaque, Mayor. So, dun lang. Hindi pwedeng from Paranaque, pupunta siya ng Makati or Quezon City.
Napagalitan na po tayo doon.
Oo. Okay, let me go back to the questions, Mayor. Is the city, this is on distance learning or blended learning. Is the city government budgeting laptops for the students, and how's the Wi-Fi connectivity in the city?
Yes.
Laptops siguro or tablets?
Actually, before this meeting, this conference, katatapos na ng meeting namin ng local school board.
Okay.
We realign worth 700 million budget para po sa ating pong blended schooling learning. 700 million.
And where will the 700 million go?
Yung pong portion yan ay bibigyan po natin ng laptop yung ating mga teachers. Yung laptop.
At turuan po sila.
3,000 ng teachers po sa Paranaque. Hindi po kakayanin po ng Paranaque yung buong 3,000. Initially, 1,500 laptops.
So sharing muna.
Mag-sharing muna sila ng dalawang teacher. Bibigyan rin po ng city yung ating pong lahat yung ating pong kinder and grade 1 ng tablets. Kasi
every student, every public school student?
Public school student of kinder and grade 1.
Okay.
Kasi yun ang mahirap turuan eh. Yun ang mahirap turuan. So kailangan nila ng tablet doon with assistance of their parents para po yung ating pong distance learning mapadaan po natin doon po sa ating iPad.
Okay.
Doon sa ating tablet, I mean.
Uh-uh.
Aside po doon, ang magiging system ng ating city yung modulars. Magkakaroon tayo ng modulars na ibibigay sa ating mga estudyante, yung from kinder to grade 12 ng ating modulars. Bibigyan po natin po siya. At yung po modulars po noon, ang ginawa po ng city, bumili na ang city ng mga riso machine, printer, para kami na magagawa ng mga modulars po yan. Tapos sa senior high school natin, pa-implement natin yung Quiper at saka yung TechnoKid, yung online study. Nag-allocate rin ang ating pong city po doon. And finally, nag-allocate po ang city rin po natin lahat ng aming grade 7 to grade 12 po dito. May ordinance po kami na binibigyan po namin allowance sa 500 pesos monthly.
Wow.
Sa public school.
That's remarkable. But are the teachers ready to do blended instruction?
Continuous yung kanilang training right now. Continuous. And the opening will be August 24.
So tuloy ho yung August.
Yes, yes. And according to our division superintendent, our local division office will be ready by the 24 on this flexible learning.
Okay, let me run through the questions again. What is your forecast with respect to the adjustments in the level of quarantine restrictions in the NCR? When do you think will it be completely lifted? Matatapos na the GCQ supposed to end by June 15, no, Mayor? What's your sense at the Metro Manila Council, for example? What are you hearing and feeling from the rest of the
personally,
mayors?
the stand of our city, with our consultation with our local task force, kailangan pa natin another 15 days for GCQ.
So baka extension. But do you think there will be a reversion to MECQ, a tightening?
No. Yung lang extension of GCQ.
Status quo.
Mag-open tayo ng economy, at the same time, yung ating health protocol, we have to sustain. Yun. Pero in my part, in our city, with the consultation of our local task force, hindi pa ho tayo dapat mag-modify GCQ. We just have to extend another 15 days para ma-contain na po natin itong ating pagpaplato ng ating COVID.
And that is the sentiment of all the mayors.
Hindi ko pwede pakunahan yung ibang mayor.
So hindi to pinag-uusapan, Mayor, sa council, parang para pareho yung takbo ng
with consultation with other mayor, yun rin ang pananaw nila. At every time that there is an assessment, kasi ang ating MMC is only a recommendatory.
But you get consulted by the IATF.
Of course. But our power is only a recommendatory. The final decision will come from the IATF.
Okay.
Doon po sa aming pag-uusap, halos karamihan po, they want to maintain, extend GCQ.
Okay. Let me read out the other question. Okay. This is on the anti-terrorism law or bill. Hindi pa ata napipirmahan ni Presidente. What's your the attendees asking for where you stand with regard to the anti-terrorism bill? Okay.
Actually, hindi ko pa nababasa yung bill. So I have to make a study on that bill. Pero it is a cost of against communism, left-leaning, about po ako doon.
Okay. Yeah. We will go back to you after you fully read the bill. Mayor, Mayor, in business, kasi kami business people, we like to say that one should never let a good crisis go to waste. Of course, yung COVID-19 has really brought untold horror to the country, the rest of the world. The loss of lives and livelihood is really a tragedy. But having said that, there must be opportunities that you have seen as the top executive of your city that you feel needs to be seized at this time.
Yes.
What would these opportunities be?
We should be prepared of all eventualities. Yung pong nakita ko. This pandemic, we cannot foresee this one. Na hindi natin alam na mangyayari po sa atin. But dapat ang every local government unit in partnership with the private sector will be prepared on all eventualities.
And how have you concretize this thinking that dapat yung disaster preparedness has to be much more extensive?
Continuous partnership with the private sector.
The private
Kailangan tuloy-tuloy ang communication, tuloy-tuloy ang partnership with the private sector. The
Mayor,
government cannot do this alone.
Before I ask my last question, kasi hanggang ano lang tayo, hanggang 2 o'clock. You presented earlier your COVID task force, and then you presented the different clusters, and there was an economic cluster which I assume will want to focus on the impact of the crisis on the local economy and the local businesses. Bakit ho wala kayong representative from the private business sector? Do you have a representative or representatives from the private sector in business that should maybe sit in that cluster?
Kasama sila doon. Kasama sila.
Representative.
Yes, kasama po sila doon sa cluster na yon.
Okay.
Kasama. Since the beginning, since we nag-formulate ng plan, ang private sector kasama po namin. Sa CDC namin, ang private sector kasama po namin, yung City Development Council. Pati sa cluster po yan, kasama po natin ang private sector.
Okay, that's good to hear. Okay, let me just do a quick check on the questions. Okay, ito naman. It talks about the demands on the local executive, no, yung mayor, with pandemics and other problems that the local governments get to face every so often. And now it seems like these problems are magnified in scale. Yes. The depth and the breadth of the problems and their impact on the local communities. The attendee is asking whether it is now more important to impose a minimum educational qualification before one can run for public office, specifically as mayor of a city or a town.
Yes. Me, I have been in public service for 20 years. Napagdaanan ko po lahat ng posisyon mula po sa councilor, as board member, as presiding chair, as vice governor, representative in the Congress, my 3 term as a chief executive officer. Ang importante po, ma'am, may puso to serve. Yun po importante. Be honest, be truthful, gamitin natin sa tama ang pera ng taong bayan.
Hindi ho kaya kailangan din may common sense,
yes,
Mayor?
We need that, of course. We need that.
Yes.
Pero
critical thinking. I think critical thinking is very essential also, no? At saka managerial expertise, Mayor, kasi executive yung ano.
Definitely, we do need that. But kailangan po natin sa isang public servant yung
puso para sa ano.
Very truthful with his constituents.
Integrity,
yes.
All of these things. Okay, one final question, Mayor. How do you envision Paranaque's post-COVID scenario? Are there structural reforms that you want to adopt? Are these time-bound? Let's say between now and siguro next year, how will you transform Paranaque? Because new normal na yung pinag-uusapan, Mayor.
Yes, we will be adapting for a new normal talaga. So, in preparation on all online transaction, transaction, online processing, everything. Doon po tayo papunta. Until wala po vaccine, until walang vaccine po itong COVID-19 na ito, we'll be facing a new normal. And the city of Paranaque will be preparing on that.
And it's technology-driven.
Yes, it will be. At we would assist yung pong ating mga negosyante, lalo-lalo ng mga micro, medium enterprise na makarecover po sila.
Okay.
The city funded with coordination with the NGAs para matulungan po natin sila sa kanilang skill, financial, para po makabangon po tayo.
Mayor, one short final message or word?
Okay. So again, in behalf of the City of Paranaque, I would like to thank the officers of FINEX for inviting me. At hopefully, nasagot ko naman yung mga katanungan po ninyo. Yes. And rest assured that the City of Paranaque will be continuing the partnership with the private and the public sector. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you, Mayor. Let me now call on the President of FINEX, Jeng Pascual, for his closing remarks. Jeng?
Thank you very much, Malu. I'd like to thank and congratulate the Honorable Mayor Edwin Olivarez, a fellow archer, for being a very clear and excellent example of how crisis situations should be managed. I think I heard Marivic Españo say earlier that the purpose of this session was to discuss with the best and brightest of local executives. And I'm sure everyone on this webinar will agree that we were not disappointed this afternoon. My main pickups from the Honorable Mayor are quite much in line with what we've been saying in FINEX on the 3 R's on response, resilience, and recovery. I think they applied a very structured, or the mayor applied a very strategic, structured, and professional approach to address the issue. And it shows how he has applied his acumen and insights as chief executive, business acumen and insights as chief executive of Paranaque. I like very much the 3-pronged strategy, the end-to-end approach that you shared with us, Mr. Mayor. And the fact that you've identified all of your key stakeholders, the affected constituents of the 160,000 households in your city, the frontliners, the private sector, MSMEs. You said no one was left behind. And it's something that is really a testament to the very good response that the city has done. As far as resilience is concerned, you've managed to ensure that you were in control of the situation because you've been applying a very data-driven approach for your decisions and your policies. And I think the fact that you've promoted online or provided online services by the local government ensured that things continued during these trying times. And then looking ahead towards eventual recovery, I think what we've heard from the mayor in terms of his leading the digital transformation of the city and also calling on the private sector to partner with them for inclusive and sustainable recovery, I think will prepare Paranaque very well for the new normal. So I hope that you continue to share this with the rest of your co-mayors in the Metro Manila Council, sir. I think you're able to achieve this mainly through the very hands-on methodology and approach that you've shown, as well as what you call the heart to serve. So thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I'd also like to thank Malu for being the usual very engaging and candid moderator. It was a very interesting dialogue, and I also have to congratulate Malu that I think this is the first webinar that we scheduled that we really had enough time to address all of the Q&A. So well done. I'd like to also thank our Good Governance Committee chaired by Mr. Rod Franco and Mr. Bing Matoto, who's our liaison director. Our partner in this event, P&A Grant Thornton, led by the chairperson and CEO and FINEX Academy Chair and past President, Marivic Españo, as well as Mike Vinduan and the rest of the FINEX Secretariat for holding this very successful event. I agree with Marivic that local governments must evolve and this crisis actually serves as a test that will differentiate between good and outstanding governance. So once again, thank you very much all for attending and have a pleasant afternoon.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jeng. Thank you, Mayor. And we look forward to Paranaque bouncing back better. Thank you, everybody. And we'll see you in our next webinars and dialogues. Good afternoon.